Are you sick of playing base Neo and just running into fucking Metal Chansey after Metal Chansey? Of course the answer is yes, so of course you would also want an alternative. Something that can counter Chansey directly. But what is there in base Neo that could possibly do this? Let me introduce you to my friend Piloswine. This tusky mammoth pig can deal 160 damage to Chansey on turn 3, so forget about those metal energy, that's an OHKO. And sure, it's not a big basic with 120 HP, but it's still a 90 HP stage 1 with a healing attack to use in between high speed charges. So it's quite tanky by itself with a high damage output. It also has a resistance to Rocket Zapdos and a weakness that is rarely going to be hit. So if you are looking for a firm, sturdy, base Neo rogue deck to compete with the metagame, turn to the pigs. Let's hit that deck list. It's base Neo, so we're gonna have a Cleffa setup. In this case, we're gonna be running 3. Cleffa is too useful to deny when it comes to getting a solid setup and starting a game off right with all of the cards you need. On top of those 3, Cleffa will also be a 4/4 line of Swinub to Piloswine. There are actually a few Swinub to choose from, but they all have 40 HP. Some are water type, some are fighting type. I tend to go with the fighting type just in case you do need to actually use a tackle every now and then. But getting the fighting energy down on these Swinub is actually pretty important for setting up a Piloswine for a high speed charge. Now this is an attack that you're not going to be able to get started until turn 3, but when you're up against a Metal Chansey, which is what this deck is built to counter, it's not really going to matter because the Chansey is going to take at least 2 turns to set up. Chansey is not going to knock you out with a double edge with 90 HP, you're barely going to miss that, but most Chansey decks are not running plus power. That was just a stupid card to run in base Neo because of the prevalence of baby Pokemon and Focus Band. The intro to this video basically covered why Piloswine is the chosen Pokemon for this rogue Metal Chansey counter deck. The other part of the deck is going to be your traditional Knocklock. Noctowl is going to help you stop Metal Chansey decks from using trainer cards straight from the hand like Energy Removal, Super Energy Removal, Lass, and Power Charge, which is really going to remove a lot of the backup that Metal Chansey decks need to thrive. The last portion of this deck is going to be a couple copies of Elekid, which is going to help you deal damage to your opponent's active Pokemon when your Piloswine is recharging. If it gets the double colorless discarded, or if you just don't feel like taking a nap that turn, you can still use Elekid's Playful Punch ability in order to deal some damage to your opponent. For support, we've got Professor Elm, just in case those Cleffas aren't doing their job. So 3 copy of Elm just to be able to get those setups, get the Swinub, the Hoot Hoots down as quickly as possible, maybe even an Elekid in your opening turn so you can get some playful punches off before you get that Piloswine fully energized. And to match up a little more equally with the pure bulk of Chansey, full playset of Goldberry, that way you're healing off damage between turns. That's also going to help out Nap in getting those Piloswine fully recharged, and it's also going to heal off that damage that you're dealing to yourself after you attack if you've got the Goldberry attached between turns. Full playset of Defender as well, so that you're not only reducing that incoming damage from yourself, but the Defender's going to stay on there after you attack and throughout your opponent's next turn, reducing any damage that they deal to you as well. This is an old trick that base set Arcanine used to use. Couple copies of Lass to help fight off energy removals, and then we're going to be using Double Gust because it doesn't matter if you're swapping out a Piloswine for anything on your bench. Everything else in this deck besides those pigs have free retreat, so it's not really going to matter if it's Gust or Double Gust. Double Gust is the better option for clearing away any type of baby Pokemon that may be in your opponent's active position, or something that you can't OHKO, or something on the bench that you can. Got a couple copies of Item Finder in there so you can start recycling some of these trainers. And of course a full playset of energy removal because it's base Neo. It's going to be super helpful in blowing away all those special energy that were making their rounds through the format. You want to try to use them strategically, but you also don't want to hold them in your hand for too long because your opponent's going to be running last as well. So use them as strategically as you can. I don't know. A couple copies of Computer Search. If you ever get stuck, you know, if the Elm and the Eeks aren't enough to actually get the specific card that you need, you can always rely on a good old Computer Search to just pull it straight out of the deck. Chaos Gem for the stadium in this deck. It's going to be a little bit more of a counter stadium, as you want to start using a lot of your trainer cards early game before you actually plop down this stadium, because it's potentially going to stop you from using them. But mid to late game, once you've used a lot of your one-off trainer cards, when you've run out of the gold berries and defenders and energy removals, that's when you lay down this Chaos Gem, and that's going to stop your opponent from using a lot of late game trainers like Anti-Chansey's Power Charge. Playset of double colorless energy, which is going to allow Piloswine to attack on turn 3 with that heavy attack that can OHKO a Chansey. A couple copies of Nightly Garbage Run in there too, in order to get back some of these basic Pokemon whenever you need them, as well as the energy cards, because there's not a ton in here. There's going to be 10 fighting energy, which should be plenty for 2 or 3 Piloswine that you're going to be attacking with. Hopefully the Lass and Noctowl are going to keep you from getting hit with too many energy removal cards, or else you're going to get energy screwed pretty quickly. But in playtesting this deck, 10 has always been plenty, and the playstyle is pretty straightforward. You evolve up into Piloswine as quickly as you can. You get the Noctowl set up on the bench. While you're getting your Piloswines energied up, you use Elekid's Playful Punch, while you're also using Clefai's Eek and Professor Elm in order to get your full setup with your evolution cards in hand, as well as any trainer cards you might need to attach to Piloswine, like your defenders and gold berries. And when you're ready, you just start attacking. Because it is so straightforward, I don't really have that many cards you can change out. If anything, if the 10 energy is making you a little bit uncomfortable, you can add in a couple and just take out maybe one of each of your least favorite trainer cards. You could also run Metal Energy yourself in order to reduce some of that recoil damage from Piloswine's attack, but I tried this out in a couple playtest runs and it just worked better without the Metal Energy. The deck really just felt crowded with the Metal Energy in there, so I don't recommend it. But if you have any changes or additions that you would make, you can let me know down in the comments, as well as what type of content you would like to see in the future pertaining to vintage Pokemon stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Bye!